Okay, so let any one of us tell us if you guys have understood, or if you agree with Aaron that indeed you have understood the the general principles of environmental law, so that we can start with another topic tonight. Anyone around? You guys must be really tired. But
we can give him some few. Oh yes.
You saying something?
So we had, I think, lost you. I seem to have lost you. I don't know if it was the same with the rest.
Yeah, sure. It was my network. I realized that all of a sudden I just left the meeting. But
okay.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's stable now, and let me see. I think it's recording now. You guys, the next topic online will be the guiding principles in relation to the development of the legal framework for environmental law. The ones you could have gone through with the lecturer are the basics, or the general principles that are applied generally. But when developing the relevant environmental laws, the legal framework, what are those guiding principles that must be considered by the legislators or the relevant authorities? Because you know that we have the principles, we have the principle and subsidy. I really don't know now. Yeah, I was out. I don't know what to do with this network if it continues like this. My sincere,
Welcome back.
Yeah, my sincere apologies because I was already submitting, and before I know, I was speaking to myself. I hope it's stable because I'm doing the Wi-Fi. So
we lost you when you were telling us that the principles we went through are basic principles, and that's where we lost you.
Sorry. So I continued submitting this side until I had welcome back. So I was stating that indeed the ones you could have gone through with are the basic and general principles, but there are those guiding principles that the legislators and all the relevant authorities must consider. And I was also noting that whereas we have the principal legislation, let's say the Constitution and the acts, you can want to mention the National Environmental Act of 2019, the Water Act, you want to mention the Fish Act, you want to mention the Wildlife Act. There are some principles, basic principles and guiding principles that the enactors or the legislators or the relevant authorities must put into consideration when coming up with the laws. And I believe that would be a session the lecturer would want to take you guys through, and it would just be, it's not prudent me to take you through in something that he will take you guys through. We shall just have a discussion with it after I will do a post-mortem, a post-discussion with it, so that I do not have to do an examination or a discussion of the same before he does. Let me take you guys through what I'm very sure that he won't, and let me switch to environmental rights for this very class. Environmental rights. Do we have notes in that regard of environmental rights? Ronald, do you have?
Not any that I am aware of.
Then that will leave me no position but to share with you guys. I'll share with you the environmental rights notes. But to start with, let me just share my screen so that we can be following from here. Then I will do that. I think you allow me to do that later on. When we're talking about environmental rights, now I've started, these are not unique, these are not rights that we have not made before, but we are looking at the normal constitutional rights, fundamental human rights that are existing, but are fundamentally related to promotion and enhancing of human rights. We are looking at various types of environmental rights, and when you're talking about environmental rights or rights generally, we are looking at two. We are looking at procedural rights and also substantive rights. So tonight we have to dissect and see which rights fall under procedural and which rights fall under substantive environmental rights. So if you allow me and share my screen here. Environmental rights have become one of the means of fundamentally enhancing the promotion and environmental protection and sustainable development. So I've stated that environmental rights are either procedural or substantive in nature. Example of procedural rights. Procedural rights are, for example, we have right of access to information, that is one, public participation and access to justice. Those are examples, the ones that we can ably state in relation to environmental law or environmental rights. But now that let me also first also list a few of the substantive rights, and then we shall be in position to draw a distinction from the two. Now, when we come under substantive rights, we have a right to life, a right to clean and healthy environment, a right to property, and the right to privacy. You get that? The first ones, or under procedure rights, we mentioned those. Then under substantive, we mentioned the other, the right to life, right to health and clean environment, and right to privacy, right to property. And here are the procedure rights. From the terminologies that we use to distinguish these rights, do you think, or can someone help and tell us why you think we have these two kinds of rights? Why do we have the procedure, and what indeed are the procedure rights, and why do we categorize the others as substantive? Does anyone is anyone in position to distinguish why we have procedure, or why we have the procedure or the substantive, and what are these two? Yes, I would want to hear what someone thinks. Just brainstorm around and tell me what you think this is.
Introduction. Environmental rights have become one of the means of fundamentally enhancing the promotion.
What's that? Yes, NASA, please.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Hello?
We are hearing you.
Yes. What I can say about the substantial rights, like for instance, here we are saying the law provide. Here we are saying that the law provide that everyone has to clean and health environment, and Article 26, and also Objective 26 of the 1995 Constitution. So that's the substantial part of it. Then we talk about procedure, is how do we enforce that right that you have? That's the way I get it.
Okay. That's a very good submission. Thank you. Then let me hear from Aaron. Thank you, Nessa. Aaron, you can unmute.
Yeah, thank you very much. By mere fact that the other ones are procedure and these ones are substantive, I look at substantive as those rights we have to live with, and the other one we can live without them. That's how
Really?
that's what I can say.
We can live without them. Okay, I respect your submission. Thank you. Then anyone wants to add, deduct, or comment on these very rights, procedure and substantive? Yes. Let me hear a lady say something about this distinction. Yes, Valentine, you saying something? Okay, Liz too have. Ronald, you must be saying something.
Yes, Valentine is a guy.
Oh my.
Much as he has a sweet name, but he's a guy.
Including sweet. Yes, I actually have a friend, a guy called Valentine. I don't know, that is a mistake, but I hope you take it in good faith. You know, these are funny modes of teaching, but I would take all the blame, the serious blame, if we're in a physical class and then I pick you as a lady. But for this, just forgive me now that I've understood. But I would be pleased to hear Valentine submit, maybe to prove me wrong. All right. Valentine, we are talking about substantive and procedure rights. Why do you think these are actually procedure and these are substantive? Or in the meantime, Becky can help you. Because Becky always comes late when we are signing out and she's coming in. Let me be assured that tonight she's in class. Yes, Becky or Valentine. Not quite sure whether they're in class, but
no, I'm in class. It's just that I'm very tired. Hello, sir.
yes, please, Kara. Kara, we are listening.
I've been on and yes, my network have been on and off. I didn't actually get the definition, like what you were saying.
Okay.
Because when you were starting me off, then I'm back. I'm like on and off.
Sorry. So
what you actually asked.
Okay, we hope we are not liable for your on and off, but we were now trying to distinguish procedure rights and substantive rights, Kara. And we are also asking if in your own wisdom and research you've been positioned to distinguish these two types of rights. So you found us basically on that. So can someone submit on that? But because I do not want to delve so much into that and time is fast spent, Aaron, you're raising your hand. You want to add something?
What I can, my hand has been up, I think, ever since I contributed. But what I can also add is that when you look at procedural rights, they look to be civil and political rights.
Okay.
Then these ones look to be economic and social, economic, culture, and social life.
All right. Okay. That's also, it's good you have labored to submit. So let me try also give what my submission could be. And when we talk about the procedure rights, we have listed the examples here. Examples, we have the right of access to information. We have public participation, and access to justice. There's a question that how about the right to protest? Is it one of the rights under procedure rights? And we've proceeded to list also the substantive rights. And we have given an example and we've given various examples there. And we've said that we have the right to life, the right to a clean and healthy environment, the right to property, and the right to privacy. So we are now in need to find out what are these procedural rights and what are these substantive rights. You had submitted earlier on, I think that was it? I think it was Charles, it was NASA, either NASA or Aaron, and you submitted that the other ones are the rights. For example, the right to a health and clean environment is substantive, we live with it. And then the procedure also submitted that is the one that we use or we enjoy while enforcing our other rights. I want to agree with you. In most cases, we may want to say I have nothing useful to add, but I will add something. I don't know whether you will take it as useful or not. Indeed, the substantive rights, as you have seen them, they are these human rights that we enjoy as rights. The one, our birth entitlements, our inherent rights, right to life, right to a clean, these are the basic rights, what you should have from the start of it all. When we have given an example, we have listed them down. You must enjoy the right to life. You must enjoy the right to clean and healthy environment. Now, I differ from the other statement that you made when you stated that we may not need the procedure rights, or I stated that we may not live or we may not actually require them when in life. But I would want to slightly disagree there and say that we need these two rights. And here is the connection. While we are enjoying the right to life, while we are enjoying the right to clean and healthy environment, we shall always invoke our procedure rights to enforce or enjoy these rights. So I now employ your word of enforceability, enforcement. When you are enjoying your substantive rights, you are invoking your procedure rights. So in any case, there is a violation of your right to life. In any case, there is a violation of your right to a clean and healthy environment. If there is degradation of the environment of the environment that you're living in, how and what are these rights that you invoke under the procedure sector? You will have to invoke your right to access justice. If there is a degradation that is taking place, you have that right to access justice. And how are you enjoying that? That means you can run to the courts of laws. That is now a procedure rights. You can apply, or you have a right to access information that is relevant. You have a right to actively engage in all these related activities, and that is the right of public participation. So you invoke all your procedural rights in order to uphold, protect, and preserve your substantive rights. Now, when we are talking about substantive environmental rights, they are mainly in form of constitutional environmental provisions which provide for the duty to protect life and the environment. We're saying also that environmental rights, therefore, have these two applications. We have the vertical application and the horizontal application. So if you're enjoying, let's say, if you're enjoying, or if there is any operation of, if you're enjoying rights, let's say there is a government institute against the private institute, we shall refer that to vertical application of the rights. Yeah, I repeat that. If in any case you want to invoke your procedure rights, and you're finding that it is involving or engaging the state or the government and a person. You always know that a person can be by the definition of the Companies Act, you can have an individual, you can have a legal person and or an individual. So if it involves a state or government body with a private legal person, then that is vertical application. We've had various cases, for example, Greenwich versus the Attorney General of Uganda, Greenwich versus the Attorney General and Neymar. There is vertical application, but under horizontal, you'll find that it is a citizen trying to invoke his substantive, his procedure rights against another person, whether legal or natural. Now here, under horizontal, we are not seeing government in the picture. If someone in the neighborhood is causing nuisance, there is a natural use of land, you will invoke your horizontal, the horizontal application and then apply your procedure rights. If indeed you're against, if your claims or if you are aggrieved against the government, then you invoke your vertical application and apply the procedure rights. We're also seeing that environmental rights are perceived as anthropocentric or biocentric. Does anyone know what anthropocentric means? Of course, you may not know. But by stating that environmental rights are perceived as anthropocentric, we are basically looking at environmental rights being much concerned with human life. So environmental rights are perceived as anthropocentric or biocentric. So there is that approach. Whenever there must be an environmental law, then it must be perceiving to protect or preserve life. That is what we mean by anthropocentric. So there is no doubt that substantive environmental rights are developed and furthered by environmental procedure rights. I really think that we have submitted in that area, but we noted for purposes of emphasis that substantive rights, substantive environmental rights are developed, are enforced by environmental procedure rights. You get that, I believe. So the environment, which includes the trees, soil, lakes, and forests, cannot physically enforce the substantive rights. As a result, it's only human that can enforce these rights in the form of procedure rights on behalf of the environment. That is of course obvious. You will not expect these other creatures trying to enforce the rights because they have no means anyway. So we are seeing the applicable laws there, the UDHR, ICCPR, ICESCR, the Stockholm Declaration, and the World Charter for Nature, the Rio Declaration. I would want us to put some of us who could have understood what the lecturer was taking us through about the general principles. I recommend that you make the Rio Declaration a friend, and you will find there are various and there a list of those general principles. If you may not have a section to cite when you're talking about a certain law or the applicability of a certain principle, and you're talking about those general principles, so the Rio Declaration has all those general principles in it. So yeah, I request that you get your personal time in your personal research time and go through the declaration. As we had stated, the substantive rights. Now here, sure, I don't expect to waste much time because these are rights that we have looked at since year one. Here we are just putting them into category under environmental rights. We want to see how these rights, what we call as substantive rights, are much connected to environmental law. So when you're talking about right to life, we are seeing that it is most closely linked to the enforcement of environmental rights for the preservation of the present and future generation. You get, I will just want to repeat this status, statement, purposes of guidance on answering. I've stated that the right to life is closely linked to the enforcement of environmental rights for the preservation of the present and future generations. And we come here to note the constitutional provisions. Imagine a question comes like this in an exam and you want to answer it, and you make your introduction using such statement. You realize that a serious student will put, someone was calling me and I believe it's not interrupting my class. So a serious student will have to put, let me say, for example, this statement and said that the right to life is closely related to the enforcement of environmental rights for the preservation of the present and future generations. And you will go ahead and note the relevant constitutional provision. But if you look into the statement that I've highlighted, you realize that it has a lot. You can just see this, for example, the generation part of it. And when you remember, when you're looking at the general principles, there was a principle of sustainable development, and there was a principle of intergenerational equity. So if you're discussing this right and, for example, state that this is more related to the principles, to the general principles or the basic principles of intergenerational equity, so that when life is protected, when the environment is preserved, life is protected and the generation is protected so as to sustain the next generation. It hence invokes the principles of the general principles of sustainable development and also invokes the principle of intergenerational equity. So if you relate this right to one of the general principles and you again add a constitutional provision and add a case to that effect, then I would want to state that surely if you do not have the highest marks, then you must still be having your family things really following you up to Kampala. Now, those are the cases that I was mentioning, that if you add a case after adding a constitutional provision, then you will surely be in position to maximize the paper and maximize your marks. Since I will share with you guys this slide, I do not expect that I will delve into discussing all these details of the case, but for purposes of this right, please go look and traverse through the case of British American Tobacco Limited versus the Environmental Action Network, what we always refer to as TIN. Look at the attempt that was made to establish a link between the environmental quality and the right to life. We now look at another substantive right as the right to a clean and healthy environment. You guys, I know this is a tricky time for class, but I hope you do not doze on me. I hope you guys don't doze off. Are we around?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Judith, yes. Okay, Becky, yes. Esther, yes.
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 Yes, Charles. Yes, Valentine. I've not had who? Adonia has never said anything, not even coughing. So, Adonia, we in class?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Then that's good. I was under the fears that you guys had dozed off on me and I was submitting to my computer. But since I'm also recording this, I will share with you in case you're in a dozing mode or a sleepy mode. You will also allow me to give it to you so that this is a tricky time, a tricky season of the day, sorry, a tricky period of the day. So I believe that you can go through the video when you are fresh. Hence the purpose of recording it. So I was taking us through another substantive right, which is the right to a clean and healthy environment. Now, this is directly linked to environmental law. The right to a healthy environment would recognize the vital character of the environment as a basic condition of life. And you're also seeing that this right involves many things. It will involve clean water, clean air, clean soil, and contaminated soil that are free from toxins, wastes, or hazards that all threaten human life. But specifically, we are looking at this right under Article 39 of the Constitution of our country. And we are also following it under Section 3 of the Environmental Act, the National Environmental Act, that attempts to accord us a very decent environment. We're seeing that in the case of Accord versus AG and NEMA, and I believe that now for me to know that someone was following, in a case like this, Accord versus NEMA, do you think this is where Accord is suing the government? Do you think this is vertical application of the law or horizontal? Let me hear someone save us tonight and we proceed. Do you think this is vertical application of the rights or horizontal, where Accord is suing Attorney General NEMA? Do you think this is vertical or do you think this is horizontal? Let's take a copy for you guys. Yes, Ronald. Ronald Shine.
Yes, I see this involving a private organization and government, and I would think this is a vertical application of these rights.
That is absolutely correct. When you look at this, we have said that vertical involves an operation or yes, or a link between the government bodies and private legal persons, not individuals or not natural persons. So our case here involving Accord and NEMA is a clear example of that application. If we had, for example, here Tumhaire Ronald versus Accord, then that would be horizontal. You get that? Okay, so in that case, kindly I require, let me beg that you guys go and dig in the legal principles in relation to the right to a clean and healthy environment. We have Uganda Electricity Transmission Company versus Disarama Incorporation Limited. Ronald, you remind me so that I share with you this, so that you guys are guided. We have Article 245 of the Constitution that says that Parliament shall by law provide for measures intended to protect and preserve the environment. You also have to note this very provision. And as I had stated in this case, you also look at the judge's pronouncements. We have, the good doctor has labored to give us various cases, but because our time is fast spent, we have the right to life, to privacy as another substantive right. We get that. We had to right to life, right to a clean and healthy environment, and now right to privacy. Right to privacy, we would want to connect it so much with it developed from the law of torts and trespass and all that, where a person is entitled to have a peaceful and quiet enjoyment of the personal property, which includes the environment and its all its surroundings. We are seeing this right under Article 27. I hope you guys have these rights and their articles under your fingertips. I really think it's not funny to be in fourth year, and if someone asks you for a right to property, you then have to cross-check your constitution. These are things that now you have on your fingertips. You should only go to the constitution, really, maybe if you want to quote verbatim, if you want to quote the actual words. Now, that's the right to privacy, and I expect that you guys, we shall have a way of doing a personal research and find out how privacy is related to environment. A degraded environment may not be able or may not enable one to enjoy their property due to acts like negligence. If there is nuisance, if there is unnatural use of land, then you don't expect someone to enjoy the land or the environment peacefully with quiet in possession and enjoyment. So we are seeing that pollution is at times carried out by those that unlawfully enter the property. Now, those trespassers will violate this right of enjoyment of privacy. We are looking at various court decisions. For example, these recent ones. We're looking at Arundel versus UK. You should see the complaints that were made therein and how court resolve this. So the right to property is also a substantive right, and it's also much or more closely related or linked to environmental law. If there is any waste to the property, if there is any degradation to the property, then it is a direct waste to the property, and as such, it affects or interferes with the right to enjoyment of property. I hope you're seeing that connection. If there is environmental degradation, there is a direct waste of that property, and as such, there is an interference with the right to enjoyment of the property. And again, Article 26, you know what it provides for in relation to property, and you must be in line to comment about the subsisting amendments, where there is land acquisition by the government. How does that affect the environmental laws? What about the adequate compensation? If we had the other principle, for example, polluter pays, and the government has decided to come and take this land in this area, now you have to determine that indeed the government is causing pollution because it is doing its oil and gas activities here. And as such, you expect that there will be reasonable compensation to the people. Now you expect that you're discussing some of the general principles in relation to polluter pays and adequate compensation. Make use of Article 26 and all its clauses, and it will give you a satisfaction when it comes to this right. Let's see and conclude with a discussion on procedure rights. The right to access of information. We have seen that you use this right when you're trying to enforce, implement, and further the substantive rights. So the right to access of information, it is a specific right under Article 41 of the Constitution. Some of us may not be knowing that actually it's provided for in the Constitution, but kindly find out time and go to your constitution and be guided to Article 41, where you shall find that actually every citizen has this right to access information. That could be in possession by the state, that could be in possession of the state, or possession of any other organ of the state. Now, You will have to also understand that the right to access to information is also provided for under the NEA, that is the National Environmental Act of 2019. And those are the relevant sections. You may want to note them down, and I'm talking about 146 and 149. Consider that case of Van Hoesten versus Minister of Environmental Affairs and Tourism. And from therein, we can determine that a person is entitled to information held by the state. So if there is any degradation and you don't know who could be the owner of who is responsible for such, then you have right to petition to a relevant organ to acquire information that will help you enforce your substantive rights. Look through the case of Greenwatch, Uganda Limited versus the Attorney General, and how courts relied on the PPA, that is that how it is a public document and how court can order for release of such. There is also Paul Kesemogere versus and Zachary Orun versus AG. Then these cases, I believe that you guys shall create time and go through and dissect all the legal principles in relation to environmental law. Right to public participation in decision making. Yeah, this is also a procedure right that we as citizens will enjoy. And in every environmental democracy, whenever it has to be achieved, we're saying that this right must be invoked, and it is best achieved if the public is able to participate in the process of making laws and policies that are relevant. If you remember when there was the promulgation of the 1995 Constitution, for example, we had the Odoki Commission that traversed through the entire nation, getting views from people about what they want to be in the Constitution. Now, that should not have ended with the Constitution itself or the promulgation of the Constitution, but even now, if there must be any law in relation to environment, then we expect that we shall actively be engaged to give our rights, our decisions in relation to what we expect in the legislation. So that is public participation in relation to decision making and legislation. But we've seen that we have various cases. You may want to consider Doctors for Life International versus Speaker of the National Assembly and others. It's a 2006 case, but kindly look through it in its in relation to environmental rights, particularly public participation, and see what it provides. Another, maybe last procedure right is the right to access to justice. I had shortly talked about this and stated that whenever there is degradation, whenever there is a violation of a substantive right, then access to justice must be used as a tool for every citizen to enforce those rights, where you enforce these rights in the courts of laws, in tribunals, and designated relevant organs or authorities or agencies. So it includes the power of the court to review the decisions by the government or the omissions by the government. So if the government does something or omits to do something, then we as citizens have a right to enforce this right to access justice. We are guided by Article 50, this article that gives us a right to access justice by claiming that our rights are infringed, or there is a threat that indeed the right is about to be infringed or violated. Under Section 4 of the National Environmental Act, we have that NEMA shall in its own name be capable of suing. So if you raise a claim to NEMA, or NEMA has a claim against someone, then it can sue or it can be sued. So that is how you can access justice via these provisions. We all know what Article 137 of the Constitution says, how you can petition the Constitutional Court for it to make orders for redress. That is access to justice for you. You have to look through these cases that we have labored to put there. We have, as I think we had stated this, Teen versus Attorney General, 2001. When we are talking about PIL, PIL is public interest litigation. And in most cases, when someone is bringing up a case, environmental case like this, or you're petitioning the constitutional court, you expect that you may go possibly under PIL, which is public interest litigation. And you're seeing that it's a very critical tool in the struggle to protect the rights of the indigent, vulnerable, or the disadvantaged members. And it has been well used and invoked, for example, under these cases. And we're seeing that for it, even if you sue for the indigent, the costs of the security of the costs have one way or the other remained a hindrance. It would be easily taken on, but I think the interested people fear being slapped costs by litigating vexatious and maybe frivolous suits. So that's a pill for us, and those are procedure rights for us. So ladies and gentlemen, those are the substantive and procedure rights in relation to sorry, I'm laughing because I've seen a question, someone saying, I thought NEMA is normal. Becky, really? Since when? Not really. There is NEMA and there is the enabling law. So I don't know who could have fed you with poison. So I wasn't reading through, but indeed you guys have been dozing off. Becky, I repeat, Becky, how many times are those you have dozed off? So ladies and gentlemen, that is our session for environmental rights. And let me entertain a few questions as we call it a night, and we rest. We go and rest for the night, or call it a day. Please, a question or two, anyone? Aaron?
Maybe information to Becky.
Yes.
You know, government is going through rationalization and merging of agencies, and NEMA is one of them.
Okay.
But the exercise has not been finished.
Okay.
It is believed those things will end by end of June 2023. But as of now, all those institutions are in the process of being merged. And since the law is still there, we can say that NEMA still exists. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, thank you, Aaron. I think, Becky, you've had information from the insider. So thank you, Aaron. That has enlightened all of us. And by 2023, if there is any implementation of the ideas, then well and good, but we all know how our government works. So any information, any question, subtraction, addition, or supplement? Anyone? Okay, that's so much of waiting. So thank you guys. I'm really happy that you guys are amidst this very tricky session, tricky time, tricky allocation of time. You guys still make it. Tired as you would be, I understand you're working class, but you take time off and yeah, you fulfill your student duties. So I always try and manage and report this and forward to you guys for your reference in sober minds. And thank you, Ronald, for preparation of this class tonight. It has been you doing. Who am I? Sure. So I will be thinking of the guys who have participated. You guys have done maybe, but you agree with me that participation marks is something that should be given on merit. And participation, and of course, many of you have attendance, but yeah, at least participation to some, a few of us. Maybe whoever has not participated tonight can say a word and we call it a night. You can just say good night. You can say have a lovely evening. Yeah, participate in that manner, because you cannot load your data and someone comes and speaks on it without you surely saying a word on the data that you bought with your own money. Someone who has not submitted and okay.
Thank you, sir, for the lecture.
Oh, Judith has come up for participation marks. Welcome, thank you.
Oh, thank you sir, for today's lecture.
It must have been you. Okay. Yeah. So you guys have a lovely.
Good night, sir.
It had to be you this time. Okay. Valentine, I think you once coughed, so you sure I earned yourself participation marks for coughing. Okay, so
are we receiving these slides?
yeah, I must be, I should. So I expect that Ronald, in any case I forget, you can forward, you can remind me. But also maybe, I don't know, Esther, it's you who asked that. I think you wanted more participation.
Yes, please.
You wanted participation marks for asking.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So Valentine is in class, though it is raining, cats and dogs here in the Kabale. I am in the hills of Kabale today.
Okay, participation marks awarded, sir.
Much obliged, sir.
I wonder whether the hills of Kabale. I wonder whether the
Nice
hills.
weekend.
Hello.
Yes, Charles, I hear you.
I needed more guidance on the coursework question.
Oh, Charles needs, you need interpretation?
Yes, particularly that.
I believe you asked that
because it's disturbing.
Charles, you must have asked that for purposes of recognition and participation marks. I want to believe so.
Not really, because I've tried, but
okay,
I've tried figuring out.
Yeah, I want to say that indeed that's the purpose of the question, so that it disturbs you anyhow. And nevertheless, the client will bring to you such a scenario, and regardless, you must make sure that you come up with a way out. I don't know whether you come to your client and you tell him or her that surely this is not what I signed up for. But kindly, you guys, you can meet, discuss the question, but I believe that I will see originality of the work. You have a group, you discuss about the question, and now that we have started a new month, 15 days remaining, you're submitting by Moodle, and unless otherwise, I hope all will be well. So, Charles, thank you for bringing it up, but guys, let's go and discuss so that we don't have issues of asking lecturers to help you interpret the question and set themselves. But if the question was raised for purposes of getting participation marks, I can assure you that you have ably participated in this tonight's class. So, any other person?
Much obliged.
No, we just want to wish you a good night.
You had already gotten your mark. I don't know. Kai, that has been.
So I want to extend my Sincere apologies. I've been dozing. I even don't remember what I spoke last time.
Yeah, sure. Like everyone has taken judicial notice of you. Like if you don't come as we are signing out, you come and doze. So, nevertheless. Okay, so guys, we are just ending it in a light way like that. I wish you a good night, and if there is any other thing pitching, I sign out. God bless you all.
Be blessed.
Thank you.
Becky, give us a closing prayer.
How are we getting the slides?
I will share via Ronald, through Ronald, and he will get them to you.
I was seeing this case where you were saying at the end of the session, see South Africa case something.
You don't want Ronald?
No, it's fine. Ronald is a key facilitator. We shall receive from.
Yeah, I'll share all the sessions and the recorded link, the links to the recorded session with him, and because he's really my plug to you guys. So
Is so reliable.
very, very, very. I want to commend and add a voice to that. Okay, I believe wherever he is, he's blushing and hiding. And
All right.
so, guys, have a good night. See you on Friday, same time, same place. Bye-bye.
I'm still in class. What do you want? Okay. Where's